entrepreneurship doesn't have to be a lonely journey. Currently, we are all challenged by a global crisis that is coronavirus, but there has been another epidemic over the last few years, loneliness. According to the Wall Street Journal, the rate of loneliness have doubled over the last 30 years. Business owners are especially susceptible. But that's where Action Coach comes in. As entrepreneurs, you don't have to go it alone. To give you insights into this topic, we have on board Mr. Bruce Wilson. He's based out of New Zealand and is a certified master coach at Action Coach and has been a member since 1999. Bruce is passionate about people, about finding what makes them tick. He has been coaching business owners to help them understand their strength as a person, working on their potential, and proactively shaping their success. With this, I leave the floor to Bruce, and let's welcome him, and looking forward to the session now.
Thank you, Satyam. My pleasure to be here. I feel very honoured to speak to my Indian compatriots, especially because we're also in lockdown in New Zealand, day 18 of lockdown. However, it's perhaps a little bit easier in New Zealand because there's so much more space between the people. So I'm just going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint presentation. So here I go. Please bear with me while I arrange myself. So I've been a coach with Action Coach business coaching now for 21 years. I've traveled the world. As you can see, I have an interest in motorcycles. I've presented in Australia, in Portugal, in France, in Germany, in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and of course, I have been to India and trained some of the coaches there. My background is in small business, so I'm really talking to all of those people who have businesses. It might be a family business, it might be one that's grown bigger than the family, but it's still, the owner is the main controlling operator, and I think that's where Action Coach really, really shines. As you can see, my partner and I, Judy, have been to many of the wonderful places around the world, and even spent a month and a half traveling through India back in 2006. So my topic is, it doesn't have to be a lonely journey. And I think that picking up on the last speakers, we definitely have, we've got a new way of doing business. So I'd just like to just ask you to take a moment, just one moment, to really think about what would you like to learn from my session. And the reason we do that, as a coach, my job is to get your brain activated to improve your business. I'm not the person who's in the day-to-day running of your business. I am the person who's here to guide you and mentor your performance as a business owner. So as a business owner, what do you want from this session? Just take a moment to share what you would like out of the session. And I'm just going to see if there's someone who can perhaps moderate the chat. If you want to put in the questions and answers or in the chat, what do you want from this session, so that I understand that my topic is going to answer your concerns. So it can either be in the Q&A or in the chat. It looks like they're all dismissed. So what I'm going to go on to talk about is how business owners around the world using Action Coach are getting ways to break through the old loneliness. And there's some reason that people do get lonely. So the do's and don'ts of small business, How can we prepare for a certain uncertain future? Wisdom. We want to learn from your experience how we can procure good clients. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to, which businesses will be ideal for family businesses? Any business can be a family business. It depends what the family is really interested in developing and why they want to do it for their family. So here we go. The old style business is like the picture at the top. The job was to knock out the opponent. To win, we had to compete. And part of the loneliness that business owners have experienced in the past is that they are the people out there, they feel they have to fight everyone around them, that the world is going to take away what they've got because there's limited resources. However, there is a new style of business entrepreneur who believes that there are unlimited opportunities. And there are unlimited opportunities because there are unlimited numbers of people on the planet right now. So rather than thinking we're competing for limited resources, we get together and exchange ideas to create opportunities, and we spot the opportunities. And I've been really intrigued in New Zealand. Some businesses have completely changed the opportunities that they see in the current marketplace because they can't do their previous business during lockdown. So the first thing is moving from compete to create. There's an infinite number of opportunities, an infinite number of ideas. If you're willing to allow other people to contribute to you, then you will create opportunities. The second shift that changes loneliness is the old style business entrepreneur was self-centric. So they are the big boss. They're the person that has to rule everything, has to watch what happens, treats people like they don't know what they're doing. So they're very focused around who they are and what they are doing to make the business work. Whereas the new style business entrepreneur, people are treated as equals. And I do believe the last two speakers have alluded to this. People, the new generation, they want to be part of a team. And a team is a way of everyone achieving more. So it's team-centric rather than self-centric. We work for the common good, not for the good of one individual who sits at the top of the pyramid. So, as the previous speakers have said, the new entrepreneur is more than happy to surround themselves with advisors. So first we've got the financial advisor. We need someone who's familiar with the movement of money in and out of a business, how to arrange it for the best possible tax advantages, where to source money when needed. So every business needs a financial advisor as part of their makeup. We also need a legal advisor, particularly those of you who are doing internationally. The law's different from country to country. Also within the country, we need to obey the letter of the law, but also find out what is possible in the letter of the law. And then we need an advisor in operations. In other words, there's someone who takes care of the day-to-day. So the entrepreneur is looking at building a team of advisors so that they can focus on the parts of the business that the leader's in charge of. And I'll talk more to those in a moment. We also need people working on human resources, because as the new generation are educated and looking for more opportunities, we have to be conscious that the people who are in their 20s and 30s think and act completely differently from people in their 40s and 50s, who act differently to people who are in their 60s and 70s. And then there's the final new, well, it's not really new for me because I've been doing it for 21 years, but I'm working with entrepreneurs as their coach. And as a coach, my job is to work alongside of you. So I'm one of your most trusted advisors, because I'm going to be working with you to find out what goals would satisfy you as a business owner. Because every business has to serve the lifestyle of the owner. So the role of the coach is to make sure that the entrepreneur is setting realistic and achievable goals for their business. Next, the coach is really looking at what strategy, when implemented in the business, will deliver the goals that the entrepreneur has set. And excuse me. And those strategies may include personal development as well as business development, because the final thing that the new entrepreneur is open to is increasing their performance. So what I mean by performance is the new entrepreneur's ability to run a business. And it's one of the truths that every large business once started as a small business. And every entrepreneur that now has a large business has gone through increasing their performance. And in this day of information, there's too much knowledge. There's too much for someone to need to gather for them to do it by themselves. And that's why I think business owners have become lonely, because they haven't built this team. This is the basic team that can help the running of the business. Now, the coach, if we talk about some of the challenges, and number one, a family business, and number two, a business with multiple owners. My job as a coach is to really identify what goals will serve the majority. And if there is someone in the group that is not going to serve the goals of the majority, then quite frankly, we have to look at ways that they can change their roles and potentially even exit the business. Because a good coach knows that it takes 5 people, 5 positive people, to balance 1 negative person. 5 positive people to balance 1 negative person. So, I'm just noticing the chat here, one moment. I'm a lone entrepreneur, so how can I overcome my loneliness? So a lone entrepreneur is someone who hasn't understood that the first team to assemble is your advisors. And the previous speaker said, even on a startup, it's really wise to get advisors. Some advisors you pay, some that you won't. One of the interesting things that I've found as a coach is the clients who pay me to coach them in their business always get better results than the people who try and do it for free or do it for cheap. Because really, it's your investment in yourself. It's your investment in yourself. So I'm just reading another chat here. Anil has asked, what is the difference between coach and a mentor? So if I could sum it up, a mentor is someone who has experience in the particular business or endeavor that you're engaged in, the type of industry. Whereas a coach is totally focused on improving your performance as a business owner. So if we look at, and I know that, you know, some of you might remember when John Wright was coaching the Indian cricket team. He didn't go out on the field. His job was to get the team working as a team, to set their goals, to define the strategy, and then coach each person to improve their performance. That means you have to be open to someone explaining your weaknesses. And one of my jobs as a coach is to explain to people where they are, they've got the blindfold on to the real performance that their business is capable of. It might be because they're stuck in an old way of doing things. And one thing that COVID-19 has done is the way that we do business has changed forever. The world economy has changed forever. The trust that we have between countries is much lower because we realize that a reliance on China has been the downfall for the Western world. So, you know, there's a new environment, and without other input, with another point of view, it's very hard to adapt. So the difference between a mentor can give you specific advice in terms of running your business, particularly in an industry. I don't pretend to know about every industry, but I'm very good at helping people set their personal goals in a way that is meaningful for them, to develop strategies that they are capable of implementing and improving their performance by getting them to take notice of how they're communicating with their team and with their customers, and how they're empowering their team to run the business. Which brings us to the next slide, which is, we call this in Action Coach the cycle of business. So the leader of the business owner, their job is to empower the team and to set up the team so that the team deal with the customers. The customers in turn pay the money and do repeat business with the business in a way that makes profit for the leader to live the lifestyle they want. So the leader is in charge of making sure the team can take care of their customers. Once again, this is a really daunting prospect for an old style leader, because the one thing I hear from an old style leader is, but Bruce, my customers all want to deal with me. And my response is, you've trained them to think that way. You've trained them to think that the only person in your business who's capable is you. They also know that if they talk to you and you're worried about making enough money to pay all your expenses and your payroll, you'll probably discount. Whereas when a team member is given the parameters that they're allowed to negotiate in, they can honestly say, I can't go below this price. My boss has told me if I go below this price, I don't have a job. So part of the new style business is the leader takes care of the team takes care of the customers takes care of the business, which supplies the lifestyle that the leader wants. So that means leadership is the most important thing in the new economy. And the very last slide I have on this presentation will also bring that home. So let's talk about the 6 keys to building a winning team. If you want a winning team, number 1, you have to have strong leadership. And for the rest of this session, I'm going to talk about what makes a strong leader. Why a strong leader is never lonely, because they have their advisors, but also they know where they're going and they know the values that they stand for. Number 2, a common goal. And the previous speakers mentioned this. You have to have your team enrolled that the business is going to be known for something that is inspiring and motivating for them. And then number 3, rules of the game. If someone wants to join your team, they have to earn the right. And I don't mean they have to earn the right because of their qualifications. They need to earn the right because their attitude fits the culture of the business. So the rules of the game are the culture of the business. And every single winning team on the planet has a very, very strong culture of self-responsibility, of working with others to achieve a goal. So I'm just going to check the chat again because I see something came up. Right. There's apparently a question a bit outside of the topic of this. Anil, these days leaders have very good technically and good domain knowledge, but poor soft skills Poor resilience, conflict management, not impartial, not knowledge sharing, not empowering to team, how to improve it. So thank you, Anil. I will go into more detail. So strong leadership, common goal, rule of the game, and then an action plan. Every improvement in the business needs to be planned out. There needs to be a sequence. So each person knows what they're working on to improve their area of the business. And I think one of the most common mistakes that business owners make is they don't consult their team on how to improve the areas of their business. Because the person who's working a job day in, day out knows how to do it better than anyone else. And it's been very interesting for me working in factories early in my career. I worked in one factory where we were assembling telephones. And that team knew that they could produce 350 telephones by 1 p.m. in the afternoon, but it always took them the whole day to do 350 telephones because the management never talked to them about how to improve the production, never talked to them about sharing and the benefits of working harder, and there was no action plan for them to feed into. Number 5, support decision making. So what we're looking for is getting people at all levels of the business making decisions about how to do their job. And then number 6, 100% involvement and inclusion. And one of the things that's happened with the COVID-19 is that business owners more than ever are communicating with their teams sometimes on a daily basis. They're giving them daily targets because if they're working from home, they don't have the same control. So that change is being forced on a lot of people. So to get the most performance out of a team, there's 16 cylinders. It's like a car, a very sophisticated motor in a car. And a cylinder is where in the motor, where the power comes from. So most scooters have 1 cylinder. Most high performance cars have 8, 12, sometimes 16 cylinders. So here's where you can get a real advantage in running a small business. Number 1, you must understand that body and mind only provide 6 of the cylinders. So the body and the mind only provide 6 of the cylinders. The other power in the engine of your business comes from heart and spirit. So heart and spirit, they supply 10 cylinders of power. And what I find is a lot of business owners are looking to be a manager of the bodies and the minds of their people. They want to make sure that people turn up on time. They want to make sure that they're working hard. They want to measure everything. They want to manage the resources. However, most people have a heart, and a heart is the care for other people. The heart is the love of other people. And then spirit is the love of life. So our heart is stimulated by working together with other people. So when 1, 2, or 3 or 4 people all gather together and they all work together to achieve something so all benefit, then the heart is fulfilled. They also want what they do to be interesting, exciting, perhaps innovative and growing and developing. Everyone who loves life has a large spirit. So leaders have to get used to enrolling people in their heart and spirit. And that's where the common goal comes in. Without a common goal, people have nothing to strive for. Turning up, well, let's put it bluntly, you can buy a body. You can pay a certain number of rupees and a body will turn up at your business. You can pay more money and the body will turn up with a mind and it will start thinking. But if you want people to go the extra mile, to be passionate, and someone on the last session talked about, you know, the office is not looking very good. Well, I've found that when the team wants their office to look really good, they will come in and do extra hours, or they will be willing to do work that they don't normally do to make the office look better. Small things. And you've got Richard Maloney from Engage and Grow. That is a globally proven team activation. And as someone who's been trained in that, I know that when people start working for each other, and then when they start working for something that makes them feel that they're growing and developing, they will do more than you ask them to, more than you pay them to. And I heard that from the last speaker as well. There's a theme here. The new way of business has heart and spirit. So, what's the job of a leader? How do you engage the heart and spirit? Number one, you must set and hold on to your vision. And this diagram here describes it really well. So if you have no destination, if you have no vision, you will sail your boat out from the harbour, and you'll go left and you'll go right. You'll move backwards and forwards and up and down, and you'll still be floating, but you won't have gone anywhere. Whereas a business owner with a vision, and some people want a business that is 3, 5, 10 times bigger. They want to dominate their particular marketplace, or they just want to be known as one of the best places in the local community to work. Whatever the vision is, you have to write it down, you have to record it, and it has to mean something to the business owner. It has to be more than I want to make a whole lot of money. Because not many people like making a whole lot of money for someone else and not benefiting. But they do like working hard for a business that is known to be an excellent place to work, so that when their friends ask them, where do you work? And they give the name of your company, their friends say, oh, that's a very good company. So number one, you must define your vision and hold on to the vision through ups and downs. COVID-19 has been a classic example of holding on to the vision. Number two, defend your culture. This is a picture of the All Black rugby team, world champion rugby team. And they have a very, very strong culture because they learned, and there's a book, I recommend a book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Absence of trust. The people don't trust each other. People fear to tell the truth because they fear that there's big conflict. There's a lack of commitment to living the life that they say they want to live. There's an avoidance of accountability, of being shown the true results, and of course, inattention to results. So defend your culture. Work with your coach. Set up your 5, 6, or 7 values that drive you. It could be growth. It could be innovation. It could be family. Whatever the culture is of your business, you must live it and defend it. And people will respect you for it. That is the way that people join teams. And when as a business owner, you have people that share your values, you don't feel so alone. Because when you walk into your business, you know that they're going to be coming up with ideas. They're going to be supporting you to be the best business you can be. Number 3, be uncompromising on your outcomes. There's something really, really interesting that team members really respect business owners who do not let them away with low performance. Many studies have been done that the harder it is to get into a team, the more being on the team is valued. So be uncompromising on your outcomes. When you don't achieve a target, ask why. Oh, sorry. And here's a diagram. Those of you who are watching, write it down. So set a target. Always measure. How are the people doing? Because they want to know how they're doing. So always measure. Look at the variance above the target or below the target. Talk to your team. Involve your team. That way you're not doing all the work. What are the reasons? And if they've exceeded the target, how do we create a system so that we do this in our business consistently? Or if it's a problem, we've fallen below the target, what's the solution? How do we need to change and adapt so that we can achieve the target? And then once you've got the system designed or the solution arrived at, reset the target. Reset it. It may be higher, seldom lower, might be the same. Have a reset your target and repeat this. So that means business owners are communicating with the team about their targets and their outcomes. Don't feel so alone, because every single week there's a sense of progress. So be uncompromising on your outcomes. Number 4, know yourself. There's only one thing worse than doing a job badly. It's doing a job badly you shouldn't be doing. So as a leader, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Working with a coach like myself, one of the first things we do is we do a DISC profile. In other words, we look at your behavior. Are you task-focused or are you people-focused? Are you direct and outgoing or you're indirect and reserved? And from that, we get an idea of what leadership style will suit you, because many different styles will be successful in business. For example, Donald Trump, whether you like his style or not, he is leading one of the biggest nations in the world. And he has a particular style. It's a dominant, outgoing, task-focused style. He is perhaps, in my opinion, a little bit more old school than new school. We've got Richard Branson. Richard Branson has a very, very successful business because he believes life is a party. He's people-focused, he's outgoing, he likes to have a good time. But he's hugely successful in business. And I don't think he's lonely because he involves his people. The late Mother Teresa was another sort of leader. She was a behind-the-scenes supporter. She didn't want anything for herself. She did it for the common good. But she was willing to meet with other leaders around the world and raise money for the poor in Calcutta. And then finally, we've got a New Zealander, Sir Edmund Hillary. Now, Sir Edmund Hillary was an indirect, quiet sort of person. He was a planner, and he was really good at doing detail. And that's what led him to climb the world's highest mountain with Sherpa Tenzing back in the 50s. So know who you are as a leader, because when you play to your strengths and you build your team around you to fulfill your weaknesses, and you're willing to accept your weaknesses, then you will find that you won't be as lonely as many other business owners have been in the past. Number 5, hire excellent people. And there's a common cry with business owners. I heard it on the last session. You can't get good people. Well, my question is, why would anyone who's good want to work for you? And if you don't know why people should work for you, because you've mastered the art of managing body, mind, but more importantly, enrolling heart and spirit, if you haven't got a vision and you haven't defined your culture and you haven't got a common goal, you've got a target, you've got outcomes that you're uncompromising on, and you don't know who you are as a person and what your strengths are, then it's going to be difficult for you to hire excellent people. And we believe the best way to hire people is to deselect. In other words, give them tasks, give them things to do as part of the selection process so that you can prove they've got the attitude that fits with your culture. Because the attitude that fits with your culture is what's going to get you the results that you're looking for. And once again, when you get extraordinary people, the load goes from your shoulders and you have more chance to be able to create the business of your dreams. And number 6, one of the reasons I joined ActionCOACH is because we're called ActionCOACH. Not that's a good idea and I'll think about it, coach, but ActionCOACH. You've got to pick up the ball and run. This is a rugby ball. You pick it up and you run. You run as hard as you can towards the try line where you can score the points. So taking action is a hallmark of a leader who knows why they're in business, where their business is going, who they want to employ, how they want to run their business, and has their trusted advisors. So I do believe we have time for questions and answers. This is, I think, one of the things that will make a big difference in people running their business and feeling like they have support is people can copy your product, they can copy your process, but they cannot copy your energy and your leadership. And so the reason that you can have a coach is that they can improve your performance in terms of your energy, your clarity of thinking, your focus on what will change and grow and develop your business. And they'll improve your leadership because you'll have goals. You'll be consistently improving the processes. You'll know the strategies that are going to take you to the next level. What is the next level for you? So work on yourself and your business will be much easier to run and much more rewarding for you. So that's the point that I was intending to stop. Opening up for questions and answer, had 5 minutes. Do we have someone moderating the question and answer, or do I work off the chat? I'm not sure.
Hi, Bruce. I'm happy to moderate the questions for you. This is Tabish here.
Thank you, Tabish.
Bruce, I think a couple of questions coming around DISC. It's such a wide and deep subject, and people wanted you to go a little more deeper in it and go back to your slide and explain that part.
Yep. How long do we have for me to do that?
We have another 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. I'll go back. So I'll start with the general outline. So people are different, have different behaviors according to their priorities. So what we're saying is that some people have high priority on task. They want to get the job done. So then the diagram here, you can see that the personalities are focused on people, the relationships between people. And then some people are more direct, they're more outgoing, and some people are more indirect and reserved. So someone who's direct and task focused, we call a D, their job is to dominate. So they will not be dominated by a situation or another person. So they have a focus on achieving outcomes and they're very good at getting things started, but they often have very little consideration for the feelings of other people, and they tend to be autocratic. In other words, their way is the only way. The I personalities, they're outgoing but people-focused. So if they're outgoing and people-focused, what they're looking for is how do we make the relationships get the task done? Whereas the D says, how do we get the structures and the people and the process organized to get the task done? The S personalities are reserved. So they tend to work in the background. They don't want to be up the front and be seen, but they can have a very strong vision that serves people. So the S wants stability. The I's are influence. The S wants stability. So they will work behind the scenes. They will always complete things and do it step by step. They tend to move at a slower pace, but they are very deliberate in what they do. And the C's are task focused, but they are also indirect and reserved. So they like systems, structures, accuracy, and quality. We call them the complier people. So the complying people are the ones that want systems, structures, measures, detail. All of them have their strengths. Donald Trump is really good at getting people focused on getting a task finished. Richard Branson is really good at getting people to enjoy doing the task and innovating and doing things in a fun way. Mother Teresa was truly wonderful at raising money for the good of other people, providing a humble example. And Edmund Hillary planned how to get to the top of the highest mountain. So that's the short version, Tabish. I hope that helps.
Yes, absolutely, Bruce. Thank you so much. And I totally get it. You know, it is such a wide subject, and you've so beautifully, you know, put it as a snapshot. And I love the images which directly relate to bringing out the personality. So thank you so much for that. Very specific, targeted question towards team building that's coming up,
Yep.
and it says, you know, we really struggle to hire very good people. And what are the specific areas that we should be focused on while hiring? You know, what are the attributes or characteristics that we should be looking for while hiring? Because it always feels that we've tick marked the checklist on the job description,
Yes.
but every time the person comes in, there is a different behavior that you see altogether once the
Yep.
company is
Yes.
inside the
Yes.
system.
Yes.
So what's your view on that?
Yes, so my view on that is, number one, you've got to get very clear on your vision, your values, and go through a recruitment process. Now, Tabish is one of the most successful coaches in the world in India, and she can perhaps give a little more background to you if you want specifics. And when you recruit people into an environment that is engaging, exciting, and people know that they're going to be valued, and they have to compete for the right to join your team. Remember, to get on the Indian cricket team, you have to compete. You have to earn the right. You have to show that you're willing to do more than just turn up and smile. Secondly, every single person you employ needs to have a skills test, and I recommend doing a group interview where their attitudes can be tested, because sometimes when the limelight is on them, they're very good at acting, but when they think no one is watching, they revert to their true behavior. And I did say it before, why would a really, really great person want to work for you? That's and quite frankly, you need outside input like a coach who will tell you what they see about how you are as a business owner. For example, working for Donald Trump probably wouldn't suit me, because it might be exciting, but I don't think he values people in the same way that I do. So, you know, why would someone work for you? And take advice on that.
Yeah, very well said, Bruce, on that front. I think a lot of questions hovering around the hiring of staff and keeping them fully motivated, specifically now in the crisis situation. So a couple of business owners, you know, feeling and expressing that it's going to be very difficult to please everybody in these times, and we're going to have to look at it, you know, very aggressive ways of curtailing expenses, and it could mean for sure that they're going to have to go the salary reduction method.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's going to get a lot of feathers fluttered together. So how should we deal with this? Does that make me a bad leader? Because that's going to create a little unrest between the team.
No, it doesn't make you a bad leader. There's only one thing worse than ruffling a few feathers, and that's your business going out of business and no one having a job. So we're faced with exactly that in New Zealand. There's already, the airlines have laid off 2,500 people. They've just said you have no job. And the reason that they're doing that is because the landscape, the global landscape has changed so much in terms of business. Anyone who wants to survive is going to have to make cuts. And if you're wise, you'll know the people that are going to work for you and work with you, that believe in your business and your culture. And it might take a couple of months, but I would imagine after a couple of months of no pay at all, some people might be willing to work for a reduced pay. So no, your business needs to support you and your family, and it needs to support the people who work from you. If that means that you have to go backwards to consolidate, then don't hesitate. The people who take too long to make the decision will disappear very quickly. I'm sorry, that's quite a harsh thing to say. However, bottom line is, if there's no businesses, there's no jobs, and the economy's in an even worse place.
I would completely agree with you, Bruce, and you said it spot on. I think we've heard Anand in the previous session as well expressing that, if it's the time of need, we've got to make that happen. And you just mentioned culture, and that leads me to the next question. There's a participant who says, I've worked really hard on building culture in my organization, and we were a very close-knit team, but unfortunately with the current pandemic situation that's caused us to move into lockdown, we're all distant from each other and working virtually. Yes. My fear is that we're going to be losing the culture and it's going to be going topsy-turvy. How should I deal with this?
Yes. So number one, top of the list is communication, and it's not just communication about task. See, that's one of the challenges that D and C leaders have, is that they forget what makes people feel good is emotion. So a lot of businesses in New Zealand, they've made up competitions that people can do with it, between each other, even though they're in isolated workstations. They've found ways to train people. That's a double win. One of the 6 essential human needs that Tony Robbins has identified is growth. So in this period, I've got a number of clients who are working with their team and they're upskilling them. They're giving them training. Some are being trained in sales. Some are being trained in product knowledge, but they're all feeling like they know more than they did before it started. So it looks like that's the end of my session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bruce. This was fantastic.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you for joining and conducting the session. As a gratitude, we just have a small token of appreciation for taking our time and being with us today. And we look forward to more such sessions with you.
Thank you very much.
And you look very smart in the Nehru jacket today, Bruce.
Thank you. Thank you.